Chapter 6. We Tail John J. Pettus. Lars and I relaxed on Saturday morning. Then my wife joined us for some sightseeing in the afternoon. Lars was cheerful all day. His gloom seemed to have disappeared. We shared a drink in the study after supper.
"Loris,"
he said, dipping his cigar,
"this is the first time I think I've smiled in months.
Yes, I noticed you were rather cheery today.
Our adventure last night was just what I needed. I'm feeling much better now."
"I'm glad to hear that."
"You and I are in a very unique position. We have enormous wealth, social status, and can basically do anything we want for the rest of our lives."
"Yes, we truly are blessed."
"I believe it's our solemn duty to help people less fortunate than us. Maybe that's why we were endowed by the Creator with such tremendous luck."
"I'd like to think so."
"We need to dig deeper into this John J. Pettus matter. If the cat is killing women, it's our solemn duty to put an end to it."
"I agree."
"What do you propose we do?"
"Well, the first thing we need to do is to confirm that Stella Hornsford was really murdered."
That means analyzing everything that happened last Thursday night, including visiting a morgue. We aren't authorized to ask questions. We're not professionally engaged."
Does it matter?"
"Technically, it does."
"Why can't we just nose around?"
"When you're poking around a crime scene, Loris, it's important to have an out."
"That's why I do all my reconnaissance under the cover of darkness. Then I don't have to answer to anybody."
"Maybe we don't need to bother proving anything, Loris. All we have to do is observe this John J. Pettus and see how he reacts when things go wrong."
That'll certainly save us time and effort."
"I suggest we begin observing this scoundrel tonight. Let's see where he goes. Let's see what he does. We can learn a lot about a man by watching him be himself."
I suggest we take a nap. We'll begin our surveillance after dark."
I parked the Ford in front of Weld Hall. It was a little after 10 o'clock. Most of the rooms were still lit.
"Let's pull the fire alarm and join the residents as they congregate out front," I said. "There'll be so many people there, no one will notice us."
"Capital idea, Loris."
Lars and I walked around to the back of the large dormitory and found an unlocked door. I slunk inside and pulled the fire alarm. Then Lars and I hurried to the front of the building and joined the others who were assembling there. 2 fire engines arrived. The firemen jumped off the trucks and ran into the building. I noticed some fire jackets and helmets on the ground near one of the trucks. I tapped Lars on the shoulder. No one was looking. We each grabbed a helmet and jacket and put them on. Then we strolled into the crowd. I observed a man standing alone. He looked intelligent. "Are you John J. Pettus?" I asked.
"No," said the man, dipping his pipe.
"That's him over there."
The man indicated Pettus with the pipe.
Lars and I studied Pettus. He appeared agitated. "He keeps checking his watch," I said. "This fire drill is interfering with his plans." Firemen began exiting the building.
"False alarm!"
yelled one. Everyone began re-entering the dormitory. Lars and I followed Pettus inside. We avoided eye contact with firemen still inside the building. Pettus went upstairs and entered his room. Lars and I lingered nearby, pretending to inspect things. Pettus exited his room. He was wearing a long overcoat and scarf. Lars and I followed him down the stairs. Pettus left the dormitory and walked to the street. A white coupe was idling there. A blonde woman was seated behind the wheel. Lars and I jettisoned the fire gear and raced to the Ford. By the time I got it started, the white coupe was gone. I saw it turn. I stomped on the throttle and rocketed down the road. I skidded into the turn. Then we followed Pettus and the girl into Boston. They valley-parked on Winchester Street at a place called the Latin Quarter. I flipped my license plate over and parked on nearby Arlington Street. Then Lars and I hurried back. The Latin Quarter was mobbed. There was a line to get in. Pettus and the blonde woman were standing in it. Lars handed the man minding the door $100 bill. We were ushered inside. Peters and the blonde woman finally entered. They were seated at a small table in a dark corner, away from the dance floor. Lars handed a passing waiter a $100 bill.
"I want a table set up right next to that one," Lars pointed.
The table was ready within minutes.
"It's amazing what a $100 bill will do,"
said Lars as we sat. We observed Peters and the girl. The blonde was doing most of the talking. Peters kept a blank expression on his face. He looked uninterested.
"I think it's time we meet this rogue," said Lars.
We got up and approached the couple.
"I say," said Lars, "aren't you Rudolf Bolling Petters's son?"
"I am." Peters lowered his cigarette.
"I'm a friend of your father," said Lars. "Come, join us. Waiter, bring champagne, the good stuff."
Peters had no choice. He and his date moved their chairs to our table.
"I'm Senator Collins," said Lars, "and this is my associate, Alistair Wilcox."
"You know my father?" asked Peters.
"Yes," said Lars. "He contributed generously to my last campaign, and I've been a very good friend to him."
"I don't believe I've heard your name before," said Peters.
"You should thank me, boy. You're the one at Harvard, right?"
"Yes."
"Like I said, you should thank me, boy."
The champagne was brought over and poured. Lars smiled at the blonde.
"And who are you, my lovely?"
"Millie," said the girl.
"You're absolutely stunning, my dear."
"Thank you."
"Millie and I came here to dance,"
said Peters. "If you'd excuse us." Peters and the blonde got up and left the table.
"He's worried," said Lars. "He doesn't know what I've done for him, but he suspects it might have something to do with recent trouble. Keep an eye on him. He and the blonde might leave."
"He keeps looking over at us. He's definitely spooked."
"He knows he has to make nice with me. I might be very important. Let's see how he reacts when I steal his girl."
Peters and his date returned to the table.
"Now it's my turn."
Lars stood and escorted the blonde back to the dance floor.
"Who is that guy?"
asked Peters. "Senator Collins," I said.
"I never heard of him."
"All you need to know is that your father supports him, and Collins knows the people who keep people like you out of trouble."
"Who are you?"
"I'm Alistair Wilcox."
"Well, let's have a drink, Alistair."
"Who's Millie?"
"A friend."
"You don't waste much time, Johnny J. The other one, Stella, isn't even in the ground yet." Peters narrowed his eyes. He gave me a very unnerving stare. Lars and the blonde returned.
"I like you a lot, Millie," said Lars. "When you get tired of this bow-legged Harvard schmuck, I'll show you how a real man treats a woman."
"Let's go, Millie,"
said Peters, standing.
"We just got here, John,"
said the blonde.
"Are you coming or not?"
yelled Peters.
"Sit down, Johnny J,"
I said. "You don't want to insult Senator Collins, do you?"
"I said let's go, Millie."
The blonde gave us a frown and left with Peters.
"Let's go out the back," said Lars. "There's undoubtedly a long line at the Valley. That'll give us time to get back here before she gets her car."
Lars and I burst out the back door and jogged to Arlington Street.
"I forgot to pay for the champagne," said Lars.
"The waiter can deduct it from the $100 bill you gave him."
Lars roared.